Hey, what's up? Happy last 15 minutes of Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. We're going to roll on into February 9th, a few days away from the Super Bowl. I don't have any favorites. Just watching my Lakers make a trade for D'Angelo Russell earlier today, somebody who Magic Johnson should have never let go in the first place, damn it. And I think they're about to make another big move tomorrow with the remaining picks that they have. Kevin Durant is now a Phoenix Sun, believe it or not. I still think the Brooklyn Nets are the dumbest organization in basketball. I used to think it was the Clippers. The last 48 hours have shown me it is indeed the Brooklyn Nets. All right, let's go say hi. Who's in chat? Okay, Kinky Spinker. One of these days, I'm going to have you on. In fact, we're going to do a partial call-in show on on Saturday night to bring some people in, and I need to know where you got that damn name from. What's going on, Darth? How you doing? Anthony, what's going on, dude? All right, so nothing. Another slow news day. I mean, some other topics that we kind of hit on the other day. Hold on for a second. I got a little bit of blood up my nose. Dealing with allergies and sudden nosebleeds and stuff, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm not having one right now. If you see me go to this avatar, that means my allergies got to me and I had a slight nosebleed. Yeah, we're good. All right, so now, HBO and Warner Brothers Media and Warner Discovery, whatever the fuck, they have decided that they are not merging Discovery to HBO Max, which is good. That's the good news because I don't think that I have both. I don't think that it's a good mix, to be honest with you. I think the option should be there. The bad news is it still looks like they're going to go with something other than HBO, which, like I said, just like last night, why? Why would you do this? And they're going to call it Max, just Max. That's stupid for all the reasons I said last night. So, yeah. All right. So it looks like the StreamYard is starting to catch up with people. So let's go ahead and say hi. Spider-Man, how you doing? Yeah. Yeah. That's, dude, I forgot what would be cool. Kyrie is not a team player. Yeah, his talent on the court is undeniable, but man, that's a lot of money for somebody who has some physical, injuries every now and then, but he also mentally takes himself out of the game too. And he doesn't always put his teammates. I mean, I think it would have worked with LeBron because that's the only person he has reached the highest point with, and I think LeBron's leadership would have helped. But they wanted the whole damn team for a guy that may not even resign the next day or the next season. So you basically lose all your compensation for that. Um, it doesn't make any sense in Dallas either. You have two ball dominant guards that Lucas got to have that ball in order to be effective. So does Kyrie. And defensively, they're one of the worst teams in the league, and they gave up a lot of their defensive depth just to get him. Um, the Suns, the Suns traded away a lot of their size and depth to get and they traded 4 unprotected picks to get Kevin Durant. Now, as a Laker fan, people were like, "Well, you're just mad because he didn't go to your team." I got LeBron James. I got AD, and yeah, they've had their injury histories, but Kevin Durant is injured now, and he's been injured for a lot of the season. And he when he's on the court, he's great. But with AD, if I have a title with AD. He's playing at an MVP caliber this year. He's a great defensive player still. And I got LeBron James, who looks like he's just damn near immortal and just is never going to age. He's the Tom Cruise of the NBA. He's performing at the end, just past Kareem last night. I got what I need as long as I have shooters around those two. I'll take my chances against anybody. Well, you have thought on winning the Blue Blood and Honey director plans on doing a low budget cinematic universe with other horror movies based on kids' story and Peter Pan. I love it. I just that sound you hear is childhoods and memories being destroyed all across the universe. I love this idea. I hope, you know, I've been trying to get them on our show. I hope at some point their schedule opens up and we can have a talk because I've been trying to get with these guys since before production wrapped. But then they went right through production, right into promotion, right into premiere. So it's been tough to get them. Plus, we're on a time difference too. So been trying to get them to ask them those questions. But I think it's great. It makes my heart warm. Trust me, you don't want to know. Okay, I'll take the Nets are done. Yeah, the Nets just blew up that whole team. Nets are trading Kevin Durant to the Sun, which is crazy. Yeah, and now Vegas has them, 5-1 odds. They have the highest odds to the second highest odds behind the Celtics to win it all. I think that's just Vegas trying to take people's money, take people for fools. None of the players, including Devin Booker, has proven that they can still stay healthy enough to make a deep playoff run. The only time that they got to the finals was that year after the Lakers played the bubble title and then had to turn around. They won the title on October. The Lakers then had to turn around and start the season on December 25th. And the Suns didn't even make the playoffs that year. So a lot of the injuries piled up. Otherwise, the Suns won't even get that far. But Devin Booker is injured now. Chris Paul stays injured. And now you have Stickman KD, who is an awesome scorer. But all three of those guys, and those are the core, there's nothing to prove that these guys can stay on the court long enough to make a deep playoff run. So Vegas, you want to steal that money? That's why they built this place. Vegas was built on fools who thought they could beat Vegas. So there you go. William, I use Target over-the-counter brand UP and capsules for my allergies. They work. I use I have I'm on Claritin. Claritin, I have Nasonex. I have a ritual that I go through. A lot of it depends on the winter. When it gets winter and spring, those are the two works because everything gets dry and the congestion is bad. But I got a regimen. I like to do it when I get home and I'm about to go to sleep because I don't like being on the road. I don't like being on equipment or doing anything. I'm doing a lot of building at the store, and the good stuff that I take knocks me the hell out. That's the stuff I'm going to take after I get off the stream. All right, NBA veto Chris Paul trade to join Kobe, and they're letting KD join Devin Booker, CB3, and Ayton. Yeah, well, that's because David Stern, rest in peace. If I were Dr. Buss, I would have sued David Stern over that. I think he could have won in court because that was bullshit. He ended up going to the Clippers in, Lost City, and that was a fail. The Clippers are cursed, in my opinion. They're never going to win a title. But, yeah. I don't know if you could do Bambi on low budget. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I don't know how low a budget, but I don't think you have to spend a crap load of money. But remember, they've already made their money back with pre-ticket sales on this. They didn't spend a lot of money on Pooh Blood and Honey. I mean, granted, it's just if you see, it's gonna be fun. But I think they're gonna get more money for this now because this is what it can be. It's gonna be a sleeper hit. It's gonna be a sleeper hit because it's hilarious. It's ridiculous, and it's so ridiculous that I think a studio will give them not big money. Yeah, they could get Trauma money. Shit, Lloyd will hook him up. In fact, if I get a chance to get him on the show, I'm gonna see if I can get Lloyd Kaufman on the phone and get them a movie deal. But I think they run their own studio, so they're pretty good. Jagged Edge Productions. William, yes, we got AD and LeBron, but look where the Lakers are in the standings. Look at the standings, though. Between where the Lakers are at and the 6th seed, it's like 3 or 4 games. This is not a good Western Conference. This is not. If you look from spots 1 to 13, in fact, I'm looking at it right now, all of them are still in playoff hunt, and they're all 4 games. 4 games is nothing. You have 28 games left to make up 4 games. And Utah just made the trade with the Lakers, so they're about to start taking. They're ahead of the Lakers. Portland just lost again tonight. So it's wide open right now. So, yeah. How you doing, Aaron? Rob Pelinka really was able to trade Westbrook, Damian Jones, JTA, and a first pick turned into a protected first pick, by the way. Not just a first pick, a protected top 1 through 4. So if it falls 1 through 4, the Lakers keep that pick and the Jazz get a second round and turns it into D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. Better picks. And all 3 of them can shoot 39 or above, 36 or above in 3-point play. So I'm happy about that because the reason why the Lakers are down in the standings is they didn't have any shooters, and you can pack the lane against AD and LeBron. You can't do that now. And I think there's one more trade to make. I think tomorrow morning when I wake up, there's going to be one more trade to make. And if it's a trade that I think it is, then they're going to be even better. So Cocaine Bear looks terrible. I can't wait to see. Yeah, Cocaine Bear looks actually, like I said, you got two bears. You got Winnie the Pooh and you got Cocaine Bear that are both unbelievably ridiculous concepts, and they're going to both be fun. Cocaine Bear is obviously bullshit because the true story is that he gets into the cocaine and dies. He basically does what would happen if you had that much cocaine in your system. He dies. He doesn't go and attack people. He doesn't go chasing an ambulance. He doesn't go ripping people off the limb, sniffing the cocaine off their body. He doesn't do any of that. But what fun would that be if we just said, hey, you want to pay $10 to go see the bear consume some cocaine, probably running around in circles for a half hour and die? Nah, let's make him a homicidal bear that can run up trees and rip people out from them. Minnesota's Timberwolves front office is filled with imbeciles. Yes, they are. Not quite the imbeciles that Brooklyn is, but yeah. Because they could probably flip people, flip their contracts, but Brooklyn's screwed. William, what do you think about Iger's decision to lay off 7,000 people and sequels to Toy Story and Frozen? What did he do? I didn't hear about. I heard about the 7,000 layoffs. I did not hear about the sequels to Toy Story and Frozen and Zootopia. I'm assuming they're being made because those are money makers. I will never see any of those movies, but I'm assuming they're big bucks for those guys. So, I mean, are they not making those? Or as far as the 7,000 layoffs, that sucks, man. That sucks. But they had put a lot of money into the film and animation division, and people don't realize that is. They think of the Marvel movies and the DC movies and the Marvel movies and the Disney movies, and they make $1 billion. Disney's had so many $1 billion movies. That's a drop in the bucket. They don't make their money through Marvel Studios or Disney movies. They make their money through the parks. The parks are pulling in $37 billion a year annually. Disney World, Disneyland, and their associated parks pull in $37 billion a year. And the best circumstances that Marvel could ever offer Disney, 3, maybe 2, 3, what Endgame and Captain Marvel, $2 billion in 1 year, and a couple other good ones. $37 billion. The entirety of the Marvel universe, I don't believe, has made as much as Disney parks made in 1 year. That's how Chapek got his job, was because the revenue that the studio, the parks were bringing in. Disney makes money off of the movies, but the parks is what makes the money. So I'm wondering I haven't seen a detailed breakdown of where these layoffs are coming from, but I can't believe that they're coming from the parks, because the parks are what make them the bulk of their money. So, but I saw it in passing. I was watching all this NBA stuff today and had a couple other things going on. I've been in, like I said, meetings a lot. We got some other big announcements I'm going to be announcing as far as some events that are going to be happening locally, and I've been working on those all day. So, Lakers potential lineup: D'Angelo Russell, Lonnie Walker, LeBron, Rui Hachimura, and Anthony Davis. I think Lonnie Walker is going to go because they're not going to re-sign him. I think he's one of the ones that'll be gone in the trade tomorrow. So I think he's gone. I think Patrick Beverley's gone. I think Patrick Beverley should have his bags packed already, because I think they have one more move. Yep, he's in a buyout situation and he can go anywhere he wants to after that. Listen, nothing against he didn't trade for himself. It's not Russell Westbrook's fault. Rob Pelinka should have never made the trade for him. He didn't fit with what was winning for the Lakers, so you got to blame that one on him. The DMC and Z and Zootopia agree. Oh, with the sloth, yeah, it's hilarious. That's why Disney stinks as a film company. They are not incentivized to be creative. Well, they do pretty good. They do pretty good. I mean, Disney, they do well. It's just that the parks are $37 billion, and if you have shareholders, and that's probably who pushed this move, shareholders are going to want you to spend the money where you can make the most profit. I mean, and when you have Disney Plus losing subscribers, one of the things, like I said, and this is why Warner Brothers and Warner Media should not screw with the success that is HBO and HBO Max. All right. The problem with any streaming service is you have to be ready to produce content that keeps people going from one to the other. How long did I have to wait for House of the Dragon before something else came up, before Last of Us came up? And that standard is there. You don't have a lot. You have the library, which is great, but what's going to keep you on the streaming shows is going to be the new content. All right, so I don't know what they were doing. I mean, remember when the Mandalorian came out? After the Mandalorian was over, and it was over like that. We didn't have anything going on for a while with Disney. And they just, like I said, it's not easy to lose subscribers in the streaming world if you don't keep up with the rest of them. HBO Max and Amazon are killing Disney Plus when it comes to Nielsen show numbers, which is crazy considering Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars. Yeah, but they don't have consistent programming. I mean, Star Wars. Remember, not everybody's a big fan of Star Wars beyond the movies. Most people aren't. Most laymen go make those movies billion-dollar hits. Every Star Wars movie is going to come out. But when it comes to the shows, the audience shrinks dramatically. Outside of Baby Yoda, obviously. But, I haven't heard, I hear, because we have a Star Wars section, I hear people coming in, they're talking about, Baby Yoda. Oh, well, by the way, he's on a show called The Mandalorian. He's the headliner. I don't hear people talking outside of our group, like the Enosh's and the groups that we're on YouTube with. I don't hear people talking about those other shows. I don't hear people talking about Rebels. I don't hear people talking about Bad Batch. I know there's an audience out there for them, but it's not the huge audience that you would associate with that IP when it's on the big screen. Star Wars movies sell. Star Wars shows outside of The Mandalorian. And then you had Book of Boba Fett, which wasn't all that great, but it basically was the Mandalorian part 2 because he was all over that. But yeah, there's just not a lot on there when it comes to, and then the Marvel shows are staggered, so, and not all the Marvel shows have the biggest viewership because some of them aren't that good. With HBO, they got an advantage because it's 30 years of standard setting. And then with Amazon, they can literally buy their own solar system. When they go in, like I said, they're doing Blade Runner, they're doing, Lord of the Rings. It's just they have more attractive IPs right now, and they can give them to you. The boys, 1, 2, 3. That's what you have to be. You cannot come up for air when it comes to streaming. I think Disney has to learn that. Well, the first trailer from The Flash, which is slated to debut the Super Bowl, is reportedly dropping around kickoff time, followed by a TV spot towards the end. Yeah, the two cheapest spots on the show. It gets more as you get towards the center of the game and the halftime show and all that, it gets more expensive. If you notice that, if you look at the prices that they pay, which is fine. That's fine. You have a TV spot and you have right at the beginning. That's got people settling in for the game. They're getting, they haven't got completely plastered yet. I think with the advent of YouTube, as many people that are watching the Super Bowl, it used to be when you missed the Super Bowl, you had no other way, you had to be there. Now with the internet and YouTube, you miss, you can go ahead and get plastered. That commercial could happen and you can see it on YouTube, literally, I think right as it airs. So that's the same thing with me in Comic-Con. It's like everybody wants to slam each other into Hall H for some trailers that we're going to go see, literally maybe a half hour after they, have it. YouTube, this little thing we're on right now has changed everything for me. But yeah, those are probably the cheapest spots that they have. It's cool that they're doing I did not expect them to do a Super Bowl commercial for it, but they believe in this movie. So congratulations. I hope it's good. Disney products, movies stink. They're all tender stories of industry. They like I said, they're not horrible. Most of Disney's content is not for me. I'm just not in the demographic that, I'm a comic book guy, but I don't like most of their like the show. I liked Werewolf by Night. I did not like WandaVision. I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. All right. There's a couple of different ones I'm going to love, like Secret Invasion, but not everyone's been a hit for me, So Hawkeye I thought sucked. I just don't think they have that kind of gripping program that all the other streamers have. William thought on Warner Brothers Discovery has decided, yeah, that part of it is fine because Discovery Plus is a $4 service. I have it. I actually have the premium version of it. But if you were to combine it with HBO Max, it's already what, 15, 16 bucks. I think Campia said it right today. You're in order to get the value, in order to get the revenue from it, you would have to charge more, and you would be not. I'm not into everything that Discovery Plus puts on, and vice versa. So it's good that they kept it separate. They need to not change the HBO name though. Just keep it the same, guys. Especially if you're not merging it. If you're not going to merge it with Discovery, there's really no reason to drop the HBO net moniker. But yeah, heard about that. Good move. Star Wars was killed by Disney. Well, they turned Star Wars into a moneymaker, but the problem with Star Wars now is the same. Well, it's the same thing that happened with a lot of DC's earlier films, but with the exception of Star Wars made a lot of money, but you had a lot of toxic fans and everything else that they added to it, but then you didn't have any direction at the top. Because it was the switching of the narrative, switching of direct. I mean, it was just a pain. It was disorganization. But Star Wars is always going to draw money. It's really hard to screw up. What Star Wars movie that's been released since they've come back doing them that didn't make $1 billion since 2016 or 2015? So they got a formula there. It's going to make money, so you're not killing it there. But narratively and quality wise, I've just checked out. I know you're not a fan of the reboot. I do agree, but in your opinion, what would be the worst things DC Studios could do other than that? Other than a full reboot, there's not much worse you could do because that's the dumbest thing you could do. I can't think of anything. If you were ever to do a full reboot, that as I said for about a year or so, that was the absolute worst option on the table. And you can get pundits and other YouTubers and say, well, it needed to happen. Once again, when you throw out the word reboot and you're only doing it to try to enrich your conversation and make you sound smarter than you really are, you're not giving your audience the full on consequences of what a reboot means and why most reboots fail. All right. I'm gonna do when me and Enosh get together, we're gonna do a show, and I have a list. It is a lengthy list of failed reimaginings, reboots, and relaunches. All right. And in the case of a TV show and other reboots that they've done that I use as my example, DC actually is in a worse spot than they ever could be. Most TV and film reboots are done because they had an audience there that they knew they could capitalize. They just fucked it up by trying to redo things like to make money. All right, so where DC is, their fan base is not nearly at the level that it would need to be. Nobody's clamoring for a reboot except for like knuckleheads on the internet, like I said, trying to make themselves sound smarter. But the people, the general audience who go to see these things, weren't clamoring for a new Superman, weren't clamoring for a new Batman. While you still had capable people that were playing those roles, still playing them. And that's another thing that all the other reboots that failed, they were generational reboots after the generation had happened. So they were doing it, years and years after the original story had been resolved. With DC, you're not doing that. You're doing it right in the middle of a generation while there's still actors and actresses in those generations that can still fully capable play those roles. So I don't think there's any. It's really hard, and I've had so much time to think about this. I don't think there's anything worse than doing a full, especially when you do it right in the middle while you still have a capable Superman, while you still have a capable Wonder Woman, Aquaman, all that stuff. And you compound the last 5 years of futility of giving me characters that nobody heard of. That's not when you do a reboot. So no, I don't think there's anything worse that they could do than a reboot. William, what should WB would call the new streaming service HBO Discovery? Yeah. Well, since they're not merging it with Discovery, that doesn't, you wouldn't do that. But it's just keeping HBO Max. I mean, it's now that you've gotten rid of HBO Go and HBO Now and all that other confusing shit, and it's only HBO Max. Now's the time to capitalize it. William, Moonlight. Yes, I did. I loved Moonlight. I loved Moonlight. If the rumors are true, how do you feel about WDB removing Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle along with Henry Cavill from the ending of The Flash? If those characters, I think they should have kept them in and resolved the universe. But if they're going in a different direction, it's not a surprise that they would, they remember the previous regime put the two of the three in there, and then I think Luke and Abdi was going to put Cavill in there. That was part of their deal coming back. On the one hand, I think they should be using these movies to put a bow on what came before. But on the other hand, it doesn't surprise me at all that they would remove him. Keaton has no future in DCU or DCU. All right. Keaton is my era of Batman from 1989. Everybody look at the little thing at your computer that gives you the date, the time, and the year. You'll notice that it's not 1989. Nostalgia is like a time bomb being disarmed. If you pull the right wire, maybe it goes all right. If you pull the wrong one, everybody blows up. I think there's been too much reliance on a Batman that hasn't been on the screen in 30 years. And the people who were born on the day that Batman came out are now millennials or whatever. They're a different generation. They never saw that Batman in the scope that they think people regard him in. I mean, that was 5 Batmans ago. Their Batman is probably Bale, or they grew up on that animation nonsense. Their Batman's not Michael Keaton. They're not like me. They didn't see Batman in the movie theaters. So I think the reliance on this nostalgia could hurt them. But at the same time, I haven't seen the movie, so I couldn't tell you. But if like I said, these are rumors. I don't know how true. I did hear those around, but I didn't hear them substantiated. Sasha Calle, I mean, if he's doing a super girl movie, which he has announced, and it's not this Supergirl, then there you go. Michael Keaton has no future. He's 73 years old. His Batman is not relevant, even amongst his own screen. There's more recent Batman on the screen, and there's a new Batman coming out. So I don't see his future in this new universe. And Henry Cavill, we already know the screw job that happened there. Just, it looks like he's trying to set his thing up, but he's doing it in the ashes of what was already there. And the reason why these questions keep coming up is because this is being, even if James Gunn, which I say has 40% chance of success rate at this moment, even if he succeeds, it doesn't take away from the way this transition was handled, the way this was done. It just is, it's bad. And one of the reasons why I can't give them more than 40%, in my opinion, of success is because of stuff like this, the way it was handled. So Hawkeye was trash. Disagree on WandaVision. I thought when WandaVision was confusing trash, but I wouldn't say trash. It just didn't appeal to me at any point. I thought the storyline was long and drawn out. I had a better appreciation of the storyline when Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out, but I didn't need that show for it, we were robbed of her powers like 4 movies. It was cool to see her get powered up in true form. Plus, Monica Rambeau set up one of the better. But once again, if you're just going to give me a setup piece, do that in the end credits of a movie. I just didn't feel like I got anything out of, But like I said, it's all subjective. You're not wrong for thinking that way. I could have done without WandaVision. It didn't have any effect on my life at all. I guess the real test for Star Wars popularity is when they make another film. But damn it, it sucks not enjoying Star Wars. What they got to do with Star Wars is they got to get out of the neighborhood of Luke, Leia in that universe. And I know people disagree. Well, they had to start that universe where nobody was going to see it. I think that was the problem, is you started with fear of something I didn't think was a real fear. I thought they should have started long, far, far away from Luke and Leia. But we and Enoch bang heads over this all the time because he says that nobody would go see it. I'm like, that's not true. It's Star Wars. You ended up getting caught up in the nostalgia train and not being able to jump off. And characters that should have been killed off in the first movie, Force Awakens, ended up lingering around for the most part. And basically, I was watching the same characters in Star Wars that I grew up with as a kid. Star Wars has been around 46 years, and we've been in the same ballpark. If it's not those characters that we grew up with, they're in the same, in the same time frame, or give or take a couple of years, thousands of years back, and we need to not do Luke and not do Leia, not Chewie. Stop. Just recycling the nostalgia and just giving me new actors to play the same characters that I've been dealing with for 46 years. You have a new generation coming up, give them a new Star Wars. Star Wars is a lot more quantity than quality now. And it's quantity in the wrong era. You give me Knights of the Old Republic, you give me Freedom Night Uprising, you give me Dark Lord of the Sith, you give me Jedi Redemption, you give me you give me some storylines that are not the same old run of the mill neighborhood. Oh, let's go back to Tatooine again. Oh, Luke is here. Great. Every time you see Star Wars, the universe and the galaxy gets smaller. Once you are determined not to go outside, certain aspects, oh well, they're giving you bad batch. That's not same time frame. Get out of this time frame. Get out of the safe zone. How you doing, Daniel? Hope you got in in time. My opinion, WB should launch Constantine Universe on HBO Max, delete the Creature Commandos and Authority. Nobody's going to watch Constantine on HBO Max. I mean, they might watch on HBO Max, but why would you spend that kind of money on it? I mean, you'd probably be best to bring him through Swamp Thing in that universe because he's closely tied to Swamp Thing. So if you see a Constantine of James Gunn verse, then you're probably going to see it come through Swamp Thing. And I just don't think it's time for a Constantine universe. He's part of that universe, that Black Label type universe, that's already going to be put into existence. The Creature Commandos, they've been around for a long time. But once again, those are the projects that he's coming out with that I'm just like, okay, cool, they're there. I'll give it a watch, but those aren't the main course for me. The Trinity is the main course. So. I feel bad for this Shazam movie. It's coming out in a month, but we're spending money on The Flash instead. Well, The Flash is their transition movie. The other movies don't really mean anything to these guys. I don't know if Shazam's going to be heavily promoted. We were supposed to be promoting it. I don't know. Usually we hear something by now, but this is a problem when you do any type of realignment or reboot or anything else. You have movies coming out that, depending on how much realignment you do, some of these movies might not be worth the price of admission in some people's opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. People I've been talking to, it's going to be tough to give away a free ticket to that movie. So the Flash is their pivot point. The Flash is going to be his tool to reset things. So I could see them spending the priority on it. I wish entertainment industry had a less is more quality. Well, it's never going to happen. Quality over quantity mindset. I know DC Studios says that's what they're taking this approach, but studios know. Well, the shareholders are not going to want to hear that. The shareholders want revenue streams and they want profit. And James Gunn and David Zaslav are not the final bosses. You have shareholders and you have a president of the board and a chairman of the board, that can really pretty much call for just about anybody's job. So, and they want volume, they want money, they want consistent income. So yeah, the quantity is not going away, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean you can't put quality. Just because you're putting out a lot doesn't mean it can't be good. Just get the right people on it and then just do it. When you're not getting quality just because of quantity, is because you're half-assing it. You can do a lot of things and do them well. They have a big enough studio to do it. Nostalgia is not that bad. It's how it's used. Wink, wink, nostalgia that pops up for a few seconds is cringy. I'm on board with Keaton to show up or the story demands, but that's that he has to go after. Yeah, that's where I'm at with Worth. The best Batman to me, live or animated, are Bale, Affleck, Keaton, Kilmer, Conroy, and Peter Weller. That's if you're going to include everybody. My Batman, there are no disrespect to Kevin Conroy. My Batman are all live action. I do not entertain the world of cartoon Batman, especially that era of Batman, not including the new stuff that came out, the newer movies that have come out in the last 2 years. But for me, I can't stand Bale in that role. I can't stand the voice. I don't think he's the best Bruce Wayne. I think I think those movies are overrated in a large part due to him. They get better when, you get Heath Ledger's and all those other guys in there, but he was nothing special to me as a Batman. But you know what? You like him, that's cool. Affleck for me is number one. Keaton for me, at the time I saw Michael Keaton, that was the only live action Batman that was out there on that big screen. You know, Adam West did things, but we weren't really talking about that. I put Keaton ahead of Bale, but I don't put either one of those. You know, it's only because I have to have a bottom of the list. He did great for 1989 and 1992, his two movies. I as I've grown up, I've outgrown that version of Batman to the point. And Michael Keaton is an excellent generational actor. It's just that version of Batman, as 14-year-old me has turned into a grown man, the wow and the wonder of seeing a Batman for the very first time like that has gone on. That's like 10 Batmans ago. So, you know, Kilmer didn't do a horrible job, but he didn't do, you know, I don't think he fit the role personally. Peter Weller, nah, I would put, like I said, so mine to me is going to be Affleck. Yeah, I don't even want to rank him. Now, my favorite overall movie is The Batman, but Robert Pattinson is not my favorite Batman. He's still growing into the role and what Batman will be, and I'll judge him after I get the complete trilogy. But right now, his overall movie is the best of the bunch. But yeah, I don't put Conroy on there because I don't consider animation. Me personally, I know you guys can do that, but when it's me, it's live action or it's no action. So yeah, it's Affleck, and then you know, I guess I'll put Michael Keaton after that. Kilmer and Bale are tied because I just didn't think Clooney. I put Clooney last, but yeah, it's a top heavy list. To be honest with you, you could mix up any after the first one or two, you can mix it up and it wouldn't matter to me. Keaton in the Flash was a great multiverse idea, but the previous regime tried to extrapolate that idea in a way that ended up breaking it. Terrible decision making these last few years, that last 5 years. Rogue One was the last decent one, although it totally screws the timeline. Yeah, Rogue One is my second favorite Star Wars movie behind Empire. Ideally, the Flash's introduction in the multiverse should be a mechanism to tell fans every iteration of DC counts, and that is valid. The Machetes seem to be speaking about it in that way. And that's what Hamada, to his defense, and I don't defend him often, was going to try to do. But the problem is he was still going to erase major parts of the universe. And he spent him and his bosses and his predecessors spent their entire 5 years running away from Zack Snyder's content instead of just wrapping it up and we'd be on to something else. So when Hamada and those guys talked about multiverse, I didn't really believe them. Muschietti, different story though. Top Gun Maverick utilized nostalgia really well, not relying on it much at all. Audiences didn't need to watch the first one to appreciate it. That's true. That's true. Constantine makes more sense than a Sandman just because it's DC doesn't mean people can't watch other stories. I agree, but I think Constantine is part of his arc, though. I don't think Constantine is going to be an Elseworld because I think he's going to conclude his version of Constantine with his Swamp Thing and things like that. And I think that if it had been had the business deal, remember when Sandman was being created and greenlit, it was under different management. I think that if James Gunn had been firmly in his position, I don't think the Sandman. I think he might want to take Sandman and take it under his wing. But that version of Sandman on Netflix has become so popular. That's probably what's stopping him. But as far as the associated characters, like everything else that was like Jonah Hex or anything else like that, that's probably going to be done in Gunn's vision there. That's probably why you wouldn't see another Constantine. All right, Daniel Martin, what we need is entire industry collapse, reboot. Just because you can get something collapse doesn't mean you can get it back up again. And that's the danger of reboots. How you doing, Tehran? All right, we're at 41 minutes. Star Wars is the king of breaking their already established canon, especially when it comes to the books. Well, the books were never canon, and Lucas did warn us about that, but the books are better than a lot of the stuff that they came out with. So. What are your hopes for the Batman 2? Well, if we ever get to see it, I mean, shit. I hope that it goes along the lines of of what Matt Reeves was doing. I loved his atmosphere. I loved his cinematography. I love the way Gotham is as much a character as anything else that happened in the movie. I like where they have Batman as far as, him getting his disciplines down. And, he's not the best fighter. He's not the greatest detective yet. And he doesn't have the mental discipline not to bash the hell out of people's heads or chase people down and get a whole bunch of people killed in a fiery car chase. He's not there yet. So I like the fact that we get to see the evolution and then just the really sociopathic nature of him evolve. So my hopes for it is they keep that same thing and just make it its own thing. I don't want to see any other DC superheroes in this Batman. That's my hope, I guess. Adam West was great for that time as well. Forgot to mention him. I was watching Dick Tracy series a few months ago. Really dig the vibe. I hear Beatty owns the rights and wants to reboot. Once again, that movie was pretty popular when they put a major campaign. When every back of every comic was Dick Tracy. I don't know. You could possibly get away with it. I don't know what kind of budget you would get for it, but yeah. Been 33 years since that one was released, but even though you didn't have any other Dick Tracy movies, you may be able to get it to work. Who knows? I hate the word toxic with a passion. I feel that this will plague DC movies with at least Batman and Superman because so many iterations of the characters, fans fighting over there, they're definitive. Yeah, and that's the one thing that the shareholders of Warner Brothers are going to have to understand, and this is something the idiotic ones in the management of 2013 to 2017 never understood. And this is why whenever I hear about people, Man of Steel didn't meet this, didn't meet that, so they had to move on. You're a fucking idiot, all right? They did not. If you thought that was the reason why they needed to move on, open up your brain and flip the switch so that it actually works. All right? If you assume these roles, if you assume Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, etc., you assume you have to not be an idiot and know that these characters have decades upon decades upon decades of exposure. You are never going to please everybody. You are always going to have a divisive struggle no matter who you pick. James Gunn is going to have one. All right. Everybody who does these characters, especially now that there's been multiple iterations, has a death grip to the one that means the most to them. And they feel that, when you make a new version of that character, you are somehow attacking their childhood. So they build up walls and defenses. Eventually, those get broken down. Word of mouth comes about the movie. People hear about it, and they're like, man, you should see it. It's on streaming or whatever. And if you notice, the appeal of Cavill and a lot of the other movies has risen because people actually, that death grip loosened up. But if you're going to tackle these characters and you think you have an idiotic $1 billion expectation, you're a fucking moron. All right. If you take these IPs that take forever to build, even though none of the other versions of these characters, no version of Superman pulled in $1 billion, and the Dark Knight movies were one Heath Ledger away from not pulling in $1 billion for any of them. The first one only made $500 million. But if you make the same mistake that the previous clowns make, that if it's $1 billion or it's a failure and we got to, the fans are divided and all that, you're a fucking moron. All right. And I hope and pray that these guys, David Zaslav, Peter Safran, James Gunn, have all made a case and laid out to the shareholders and been realistic and truthful with them how long this is really going to take. I hope they've done that, because if they don't, we're going to end up in the same situation that we just left. And that will be a tragedy. Don't set stupid ass expectations. Understand that you have 85 years worth of fans and they're not all the same. But that doesn't mean you should stop and make slight adjustments if you want to make more money. But you don't do what the previous clowns did. You don't disrupt what Snyder was doing just because, you can't wear the grown man's pants. Resign and go put on a diaper. But you cannot be indecisive when you're talking about doing Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. You cannot be a pussy. All right. If it doesn't make $1 billion and it makes decent money, or you want to make more out of it, then you make slight adjustments. You don't do a complete overhaul and cost yourself damn near a decade. So I hope that the new guys are taking a look at the film, taking a look at what the moves that their predecessors made, and I hope they don't do that. All right. I have a feeling that these guys are a lot smarter. I don't agree with everything that they're doing, but I've seen enough of them to know that they're probably not that stupid. It's the shareholders that are going to be the key. Everything was canon under Lucas. It was just graded. Yeah, he said he gave permission, so in a sense it's canon. But he also said that he even explicitly said if there was other movies coming out, that the movies were going to be canon. And that's what happened. As soon as they announced new movies, Legends and Extended Universe went away, which too much to my chagrin, because that's my favorite stuff. Speaking of the Flash, what are your thoughts on the 90s Flash show? For me, it was a little bit rough around the edges today, but it was pretty good. It was great. I didn't find it rough around the edges at all. As a matter of fact, that was the reason why it got canceled. In 1990, which is when the Flash premiered, the budget for the Flash was astronomical for a show on that type that just wasn't gonna, connect with the broad audiences. It was expensive. The effects were expensive. John Wesley Shipp. I mean, it was. I loved the show. He even had Mark Hamill in there, but it was just too expensive to justify. And it was on a Saturday night. It was competing. And back in the late 80s and early 90s, Saturday night was the big night on TV. It wasn't Thursday. It wasn't Tuesday. It wasn't Monday. It was Saturday night. It went Thursday, must-see Thursdays. And then Friday night was a big night. But in 1990, especially on CBS, the network it aired right after a sporting event. So it premiered like right after March Madness, if I can be, or some kind of college thing. So, they put it in a good space, but once again, it was so expensive. Not like now. I mean, now it would be nothing. But back in 1990, that show was super expensive to make, and it just couldn't justify keeping it going. His costume was kick-ass. Oh, man. I love that show, to be honest with you. I can't wait for the Flash trailer this weekend. I hope it's a long trailer. I think it's just 2, right? Now that HBO Max and Discovery are not merging into what streaming service, I'm starting to believe that Universal deal is more. No. The Universal deal is, I don't think the Universal deal is ever going to happen. It can't happen for another 3 years anyway, but it makes no sense for Universal. It just doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't be able to afford it anyway, because not only are you buying what Warner Brothers Discovery would be worth, you would by buying that debt too. So you're talking about an 80 some odd $1 billion company. Universal does not have that kind of money. They would be bleeding out, hemorrhaging money for no good reason. I doubt you ever see that. Could be wrong, but I doubt you ever see that merger. All right, even the so-called canon books created by Disney and Star Wars always get contradicted by the show's movies. Yeah, it's a mess. Fun. It'll be teaser commercial. Do you think James Gunn Batman will kill? I hope so. If he's true to the comics, the early versions of him and later versions of him, when he has to, yeah, he will kill. And James Gunn has a tendency to kill. So there you go. When people say you're attacking my childhood, that may be the dumbest. They won't even say it out loud, but what they are. They say, well, that's not my Superman. Well, which one is your Superman? Oh, the one I grew up with. Well, you're a grown-ass man now. Why not try something new? But even if you don't want to try something new, do you have to destroy everything new? I mean, you had your Superman. Christopher Reeve was my Superman when I was a child. Not a child anymore. I need a Superman story that exists in the world around me, not the one that 7-year-old me saw. I'm not 7 anymore. Who says that? Integrity. Key speaker. You guys talking to each other? Everyone before had to be replaced. They have to plan now, and they were wasted for a decade. No excuses. No, but here's the thing, though. That's easy to type in a chat room. Are you willing to accept the circumstances of this? DC doesn't have the credibility to do a full reboot. They don't. You don't have enough. The people who you're trying to invite in are still watching you now. They're still keeping an eye on the situation now. And you just waved the flag saying everything that we had you here for doesn't mean anything. In the same breath, you're saying, come back to me. They just watched you waste a whole lot of their time. And now on that same person that just wasted all that time and saying, "Hey, by the way, give us another shot." It's like I said, it's like that road trip where the people picked you up, and they left you on the side of the road, and 2 weeks later offer you a ride and say, "Hey, you want to go party again?" No, I'm not getting in that vehicle. You're just going to leave me on the side of the road again. You're going to waste my time. So saying it in a chat room or an article or anything else doesn't make up for the fact that they don't have the credibility. You're trying to jump off and get flight on a broken ground. It doesn't work that way. Yep, something like that. I love Flash. Yeah, it was a good show. Hard to believe that they say their child is under attack with these properties. They do it all the time. Yeah, imagine if Warner Brothers gave in a negative reaction and then casted Heath Ledger back. Yeah, I mean, they used to not do that, but like I said, come 2013, and a lot of it has to do with Marvel. But I guess the people who they couldn't look at their paychecks and realize that their checks didn't say Marvel or Disney. You were driving the DC car instead of keeping your eyes on the road. You looked over and saw what the Marvel car was doing, and you crashed our DC car. Instead of paying attention and doing things the DC way, you were rubbernecking it, and you ran your car up the road. Yep, the original. DC isn't the world around you. It's Metropolis, Gotham, New York City. DC is the world around you, dude. Did you watch the Batman? That's Detroit. That's downtown. That's the south side of Chicago. That's Brooklyn. That's Harlem. That's every city that's around you. The thing Ezra Miller said about the Flash opening up the speedster multiverse also makes me wonder what other Flashes might be in the movie. Maybe Grant Gustin, maybe John Wesley Shipp, possibly. Those comics sold out by Gunn just by mentioning him seems to have credibility amongst comic book collectors. Yeah, great, and I'm happy for it. Most of those books are going to be bought by comic book collectors or people that are adjacent and know enough about comic books to purchase them. So, Monkey Jeebus, my math and my question to you is, what about the other 98% of the population, the ones who are going to actually go see these movies and will never pick up a comic book? I'm ecstatic that I was able to sell books and get people interested in books that they hadn't bought. But unfortunately, the math just isn't there. You're not, even it'll hopefully he makes this better, but right now we're not there. We're just in the beginning stages of that. The majority of people who will see comic book movies will never pick up a comic book. I hope that changes for the benefit of my own selfish, motives, but that's just not where we are at right now. What real world do you have Batman knocking on the door? The same real world that I have a serial killer carrying out killings. The same world where I have police officers that are corrupt from within. The same world where I have ghettos and impoverished places where crime is sky high. All right, the same world that I have organized crime all around. I'm in Vegas. Come on. The same world where I have crooked politicians and crooked law officials. I think that world sounds a lot more familiar to the world I'm living in than you think. I mean, hi everyone, hit the button and subscribe to Sci-Fi Center. If you do, William will dance. I will not dance, but please do those things. Subscribe to my channels, and if you're already here, subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the Poindexter Pantheon and the Poindexter Lounge. I agree. DC isn't supposed to be the world around you. Only those movies that they genetically utilize real cities didn't change them. Marvel is supposed to be the world outside your window. But like for me, I look at the Batman and I'm like, dude, that's here. That's here. That's every major city with all the same elements that every major city has. So I'm on that fence. I hope those comics are still flying off the shelf, William. They did an excellent presentation on exactly what you're doing with the Sci-Fi Center, showing the audience where the storylines come from. Yeah, and this is great. And right now we're in the beginning stages of it. The vast majority of those, and there's just enough comics so that if you polarize just the comic book collectors, we can sell that stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that people were seeing in the movies, comic book collectors weren't even buying. But now, they've come out. But what I want, and I want him to take it a step further, is I want the general audience in on it. the general audience, if I can get 25% of the overall general audience into buying comics, that's going to do wonders across the board. But right now, most people who watch these movies are not picking up or not deep into the comics yet. What James Gunn helped us with is a start. But how long we've been making these comic book movies? And he's the first guy to get us to that level. So we do have a ventriloquist dummy as a president. That's a political lane that I'm not going to get into, but it's been worse. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. I think let's see. Actually, couple of questions. Did you see the spike in sales for Final Crisis after Zack Snyder posted that Turkey video? Yeah, that's actually a really good story too. To be honest with you, unfortunately, you know what happens to the other crossovers that happen after that. But Final Crisis was actually a pretty decent story, and it's once again, what's Final Crisis doing? It's one of the many things that DC had to do to undo Crisis. Just every time they did something in the last 36 years, it was telling you that Crisis was a mistake. All right, guys. I think is that about it. I think I've answered all the questions. We're just at about an hour. We are definitely into the next day, so I've completed my mission. Not as long as mission as a full-on overnighter, but we got one of those coming Saturday. I'm working on having some guests on Saturday, but we'll have some pretty decent topics to talk about. We're going to go over some comics. I should have some new merchandise to play around with. We're going to go hopefully interview some independent filmmakers. Waiting for some people to take me up on my offer to come on my show and promote your stuff this Saturday. And we're going to talk some wrestling. We're going to talk, toys, just basically anything. But I'll have some set topics to go over with. All right. Speaking of comic book inspiration, can you believe that people say Zack doesn't get comics and with Man of Steel when he probably was comic actor director? Yeah. Once again, you had people putting up their defenses against whatever Snyder was going to do, whatever anybody was going to do with their characters, as long as it didn't fit their Superman. So, in many ways, it's like a bulldozer. You have to be willing to break through that wall and take the time to break through that wall and understand that the wall is there, that you're not going to get off to a speedy start. You're carrying the weight of several generations of fans, and that's not easy. That's something that Marvel has not had to do yet. Go ahead and ask me a question, Mr. CCDV. I mean, I'm not in a huge rush, but I just saw the questions slow down. So if you got anything to say it right now. Yeah, and like I said, we got our Troma thing that's happening in April, and we're going to be picking some independent people from all over the nation and have Lloyd Kaufman judge their movies and put them up on our screen, at least the teasers and trailers and shorts up on our screen during our Tromania event. So, all right, if anybody got anything left to say before I go ahead and take this allergy medicine and put myself into a coma. All right, well, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me for another hour plus. I should be back tomorrow. I want to get back to doing our Friday show, but it's just that time of day that we're doing it. It's just not sustainable right now. So I'm trying to figure out what format I want to bring that one back in. But until then, I'll keep doing Midnight Expresses and semi-overnighters, and that leads us into our big show. And also, I'm going to be doing a Picard episode recap too. So after Picard is aired and done, I'm going to be getting online and I'm going to be doing a Picard recap show too. So starting next week. So I'll put more information about that one. So, all right, guys, thank you and have a safe night of sleep or whatever the hell it is you guys are doing that night. Bye.